I will say this. A Town Called Mercy looks amazing. The decision to shoot in Spain was a good one, and the director of the episode, Sol Metzstein, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, covers the episode with gorgeous shots. It has the look of a real western. And of course, Murray Gold's music is brilliant as usual. However, this episode is like Michael Bay's Transformers. I mean, sure, it looks great and sounds great most of the time, but when you break down the characters, the plot elements and continuity, well, it's a bit of a mess. The premise is as follows. The Doctor, Amy and Rory, under the impression that they are headed for a Day of the Dead festival, arrive at the American frontier town Mercy, where they discover that a cyborg gunslinger is killing anyone who steps outside the mocked-up ring he erected around the town's border and is preventing supplies from reaching the town. For this to end, the town must give up its alien doctor, Carla Jex, who, as we later learn, was part of a team of scientists from his war-torn homeworld who experimented on volunteers and could turn them into cyborgs who either died or killed countless people in the battle. And there we have it. The Doctor has a moral dilemma. Either hand Jex over to the gunslinger for his past crimes, or give Jex a second chance. This moral dilemma is not only filled with plot holes, but it goes out of its way to disregard established events. I'll start with Jex, who starts out being likeable enough, but after the twist regarding his connection to the gunslinger, he becomes cowardly and unsympathetic, not to mention remarkably stupid in the way he antagonises the Doctor. He states during the halfway point that he fears death, but for some reason he doesn't think it's a bit stupid to antagonise the man protecting him. And more to the point, why does the Doctor let Jex get to him? The Doctor has been talked down to by the flipping Daleks and barely batted an eyelid. What makes this little pipsqueak so special that the Doctor will not only attempt to throw him to the gunslinger, but forget his moral code and pull a gun on him? The Doctor's moral code is one of the only consistent elements of his character, besides his gob and his intellect, and this episode completely forgets that. In The Doctor's Daughter, the Doctor was completely against killing and tried to teach his daughter, Jenny, that killing is bad. Sure, he pulls a gun on the villain, General Cobb, but that was because Cobb shot Jenny, and it showed how strong the Doctor's morals were when he doesn't shoot and remarks, "I never would." Here, when Jex states that the Doctor won't shoot, the Doctor replies, "I actually don't know," or something like that. How on earth does this guy deserve to die when you wouldn't even shoot your daughter's killer? 2 words.
Bad writing.
Now onto the gunslinger, who, by the way, looks fantastic and very intimidating thanks to the makeup and props. Pity he hasn't got the voice to back it up. All we learn about him in this episode is that Jex experimented on him and turned him into a cyborg, he wants revenge, and his true name, which I can't even remember. There needed to be more depth to the gunslinger, and in some way he should have been portrayed as being as bad as Jex. Speaking of Jex, his sacrifice at the end comes across as inconsistent. This is a guy who, moments before, said he feared death. So, why did he change his mind? What a cop-out. I'll mention Amy and Rory briefly because, to be honest, they shouldn't even be here. Amy has one important scene in the episode, and even with that, you could just interchange her with one of the townsfolk. Rory does nothing. That's really it. I could sense that there was an attempt to make the residents of the town interesting, but there are only a few memorable characters. Rango did this much better. Sure, the characters were on their own one-dimensional, but they were all still memorable, and taken together as a group, they worked very well. I'll mention a couple of good things about the episode before I score it. The humour is actually quite good in places, which is unusual for me because I normally don't like Matt Smith's Doctor humour. And the touch at the end with the gunslinger becoming the sheriff of the town, I actually quite liked. I'm going to give A Town Called Mercy a 2.5 out of 5. It's funny in places, it looks amazing, and the soundtrack by Murray Gold is fantastic. But the inconsistent characters and plot ultimately mean that story-wise, this episode falls flat. Thank you for listening.